His first trip outside of his country since it was invaded 300 days ago, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky touched down at the White House on Wednesday to begin a dramatic visit to the US and rally his top ally behind ongoing military and economic assistance. The conversation about the future of Ukraine began with President Joe Biden saying, "It's good to have you back in the Oval Office. It's a privilege to stand by you in the shared defense against the brutal war that Putin is waging." According to Biden, the Ukrainian people continue to inspire the world. "I really do mean that. Their courage not only inspires us, but the entire world." The trip involved significant risks and was planned behind the scenes by US and Ukrainian officials over the past week. According to US officials, Zelensky flew to Washington aboard an American military aircraft after arriving in Poland by train. He arrived in the US at Joint Base Andrews, just outside of the capital, shortly after noon. Just after 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Zelensky arrived at the South Lawn, foregoing a suit in favor of his well-known military green shirt. In the Oval Office, Zelensky said, "I understand that we have very important topics to discuss, and we will, everything, so many challenges in Ukraine, in Europe, in the world, and from energy to the situation on the battlefield. But first of all, really, all my thanks from my heart, from the heart of Ukrainians, from the heart of our nation," the speaker said. Zelensky will meet with Biden in the Oval Office for in-depth discussions, during which the vice president will make the announcement that Ukraine will receive an advanced new air defense system, as part of nearly $2 billion in additional security assistance. Before Zelensky addresses congressmen on Capitol Hill during prime time, the two will hold a press conference at the White House. 10 months after the start of Russia's war in Ukraine, the visit by the Ukrainian president to Washington, which is only expected to last a few hours, represents an extraordinary moment. John Kirby, the strategic communications coordinator at the National Security Council, said on CNN this morning that the president really believes that as we approach winter, as we enter a new phase in this war of Mr. Putin's aggression, that this is a good time for the two leaders to sit down face to face and talk. The wartime visit, which American and Ukrainian officials hastily put together over the past 10 days, is intended to show in a powerful way the ongoing American commitment to Ukraine, at a time when Biden's capacity to maintain that support at home and abroad is being put to the test. It will also give Biden and other top American officials a chance to ask Zelensky how he sees the course of the war, and get his opinion on what it would take to put an end to it. Biden will reiterate the key message on this trip to President Zelensky directly, to the Ukrainian people, the American people, and the world publicly, that the United States will stand with Ukraine, for as long as it is a democratic and independent country. During a phone call on December 11th with the Ukrainian president, Biden brought up the possibility of Zelensky visiting Washington for the first time, a government official said. Zelensky accepted a formal invitation that was made a week ago, which led to joint discussions on the security requirements of the perilous, intensely confidential trip. Zelensky decided those conditions suited his needs, and the US got to work putting them into action, because the official remarked that he was very keen to visit the US. On Sunday, the trip was formally announced. "We are collaborating closely with him and his staff to ensure that we can travel to and from the United States safely. As much as we are able, we will continue to support his travel needs," Kirby said. On Wednesday, Zelensky boarded a train bound for Poland before continuing on to the United States. Zelensky arrived by train in Przemysl, close to the Polish-Ukrainian border, as seen on video by CNN affiliate TVN in Poland. Zelensky was then spotted waiting to leave in a convoy in a white 4x4. According to a source close to the Ukrainian president, Zelensky's visit has been subject to strict security, due to worries that Russia is attempting to destabilize the country's president. The source claims that senior top government officials and embassy staff in the US were not informed of the visit schedule, due to this persistent threat. The source claims that it was necessary to weigh the military risk, in order to allow the Ukrainian president to travel briefly abroad, without endangering the military situation. The source continued that scheduling had to be coordinated with the White House, in order to determine availability for this to occur. The source also told CNN that if there hadn't been a significant improvement in the bilateral ties between Ukraine and the United States, Zelensky would not have wanted to travel. According to Zelensky, there has been a significant change in the ties between the two allies, as a result of the US decision to send Patriot missile defense systems to Ukraine. Zelensky will have in-depth discussions with Biden and other important members of the US national security team when he visits the White House. According to the official, Biden and Zelensky would have an in-depth strategic discussion on the way forward on the battlefield, as well as about the capabilities and training that the West is giving Ukraine, the sanctions it has put in place against Russia, and the economic and energy support it is giving the Ukrainian people. In a delicate discussion that US officials have insisted will not involve pressuring Zelensky to accept any concessions, the two men will also talk about what it might take to end the war. They will undoubtedly discuss President Zelensky's idea of a just peace and what it entails, as well as how to assist Ukraine in reaching that goal, according to Kirby. He continued, Mr. Putin is obviously not interested in diplomacy right now. Quite the opposite. He desires to murder more civilians in Ukraine. Zelensky departs Ukraine for the first time since the war started. Zelensky has become internationally recognized as the face of Ukrainian resistance during the 10-month invasion, and he has spent much of the year pleading with other countries for assistance. He has stayed inside his country throughout the war, which reflects both his desire to stand by his besieged country and his desire to remain loyal to it. But as the war approaches its one-year mark, support from abroad for Ukraine is being put to the test. Energy prices have increased as a result of sanctions against Moscow, especially in Europe, which depends heavily on Russian oil and gas. Republicans in the US, who are about to take over the House of Representatives, have indicated they will quickly approve significant new aid packages for Ukraine. On the battlefield, Ukraine has reclaimed important cities and put up improbable resistance against a poorly organized and equipped Russian army. However, Russian President Vladimir Putin has made it clear he has no intention of easing up and has been ruthless in targeting civilian energy infrastructure, making Ukraine's chilly winter somewhat miserable. Zelensky could have made a dramatic exit from Ukraine for the first time since the invasion started if the timing had been right. Even as the war drags on, Biden can use the visit to reaffirm his commitment to supporting Ukraine. The senior administration official stated, "We know that the conflict will continue in the days ahead. The winter will be tough, but we'll keep working every day to give the Ukrainian people the vital support they need." An essential missile system is part of new military assistance. In the new $1.8 billion package that Biden will present, a Patriot surface-to-air missile system is included, which Ukraine has long requested in order to defend itself against Russian airstrikes. The US was anticipated to send the Patriot systems to Ukraine, according to CNN. Patriot missile batteries need much larger crews than smaller air defense systems. They need dozens of people to operate them properly. Under the pressure of nearly daily aerial attacks from Russia, the United States will now complete the training for Patriot missile batteries, a process that typically takes several months. According to the official, US troops would instruct Ukrainians on how to use the system in a third nation. According to earlier reports from CNN, the training would take place at a US Army base in Grafenwöhr, Germany. It is widely acknowledged that the system is one of the most effective long-range weapons for protecting airspace from approaching ballistic and cruise missiles, as well as some aircraft. It has the potential to shoot down Russian missiles and aircraft that are far from their intended targets inside Ukraine, thanks to its long-range and high-altitude capabilities. Russia has threatened vague consequences if the US ships Patriot missiles to Ukraine, because it sees such shipments as an expansion of US involvement in the conflict. The official made it clear that despite the increased security assistance, Biden remained committed to keeping the United States out of direct conflict with Russia. The president has made it abundantly clear that while we will support Ukraine on the military, economic, energy, and humanitarian fronts, we are not looking to start a war with Russia. And nothing will change in that regard tomorrow, the official declared.